There we go. Anyways, hello.
Hi.
That's Donnie. Say hi, Donnie. Say hi.
Hi.
Alright. We're here to do something special. There's a comic character on. He's not too well known, I don't think.
Yeah, it's just kind of an offbeat character.
He got a couple movies out, but he's not too big. I think some people might know him. His name is SpiderMan.
Yeah, he's one of the more minor Marvel characters,
Yeah.
Not too well known.
Okay, he's probably the biggest one there is on Marvel. But, what are we going to talk about with Spider-Man, Donnie? Tell the good folks.
We're going to compare the Sam Raimi movies to the remake, the reboot.
Whatever you want to call it.
That came out.
Yeah. That just came out this year. Let's do a quick little review of it. I'm going to set these to the side. Of the new one. You know what? No, let's not do that. Let's start
with the previous ones.
Yeah.
I guess.
Review of the first Spider-Man movie. You talk first about what you think of it.
Well, the first Spider-Man was a really good movie. It was entertaining. It got into the character correctly. It was fun. It was upbeat. It was entertaining. It was sad at moments, and it was just a good movie.
Yeah. My views on it is just like, I recently watched this again, and I haven't watched it in years beforehand. I actually think it got better with age. I still found it to be a very entertaining movie. Some people say it's not a masterpiece. I think it might, if not, then it's right on the line.
Yeah, it's maybe not one of the greatest blockbusters, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a solid one, and it has some of the more emotional moments of the Spider-Man movies with the music. It's really well done.
Yeah, but things didn't really get really good until Spider-Man 2.
Good movie.
Yeah. Anyways, you take the reins again for your review.
To me, this is the one where they really went for the drama and the plot and the characters even more.
The struggle of actually being a superhero with a personal life.
Right. It really brought realism to it, and which is different for a superhero movie. They went in a different direction for that one.
Yeah, I think this one's solid, better than the first one, and that says a lot because, like I said, the first one's really good. It had good humor and good drama, good action. That's really all I can say about that. And we're on to the this one.
The
bummer.
Yeah, the one that people criticize.
Yeah.
The third one.
Spider-Man 3. And I can't mind if I take the ropes up first.
You can go ahead, I don't care.
I just want to get my thoughts on this one. The problem with this is that I've read a lot of Spider-Man comic books throughout my lifetime. And symbiote Spider-Man isn't supposed to be like a doofy douchebag, pardon my French. He's supposed to be a dark, very evil character. He's like that's
not emo.
Yeah, he's
dancing in clubs.
It's not as I watched it again. I watched all these again recently, and it's not as bad as it was the first time, but it still doesn't change the fact that it's not that great. Yeah,
it's still disappointing.
I saw all these, not the new one, but I saw all the original 3 day one in theaters, and as soon as that ended, I was kind of just like, oh, please make Spider-Man 4, which obviously didn't happen because they can't end it on this.
Yeah, I remember being very disappointed with that, because this is supposed to be the grand finale of the trilogy.
Yeah. And
to end it with what they did is just awful. You need a better movie.
This wasn't even supposed to be the final one. They were supposed to actually go up to Spider-Man 6, I think, but that backfired because Sam Raimi couldn't get a solid script for Spider-Man 4.
Well, they couldn't get a solid script for Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
I think the biggest flaw with the third one is the point everyone brings up, which is that there's too much stuff going on.
Yeah.
And it's not like the Batman, the original movie, with the 4 bad guys that are all together.
Yeah,
the one with Adam West.
Yeah.
Because they're all the same basic character. They're the enemy. They're all in the same location.
They're the same.
They're the same plot point, basically.
They're the same one plot point, just there's different ones.
Yeah. So that's not the same thing as having 3 completely different bad guys all over the place that all have their own subplot.
And one bad guy who's only thrown in at the last minute because that one I think is Sony's fault, because he wasn't supposed to be in it. Venom, he wasn't supposed to be in it at all, but one of the producers said he wanted him in it.
Right, so the point of the movie, I guess you have to have the Green Goblin, or
the new Goblin.
Yeah, the new Goblin. Because they set it up in the last movie. You would need to have that. And
I think
his redemption is understandable to have in that movie.
Like, one of the other problems with Spider-Man 3 is, like, in Spider-Man 2, they make at the very end of Spider-Man 2, they make it seem as though Harry Osborn is the villain of
Yeah, they set it up, so they kind of have to do that one.
And, like, they kind of did, but they were just like, he's like, someone said this before, I'm going to steal the quote, he's like the intro Bond villain, because he's the bad guy in the beginning, loses his memory, but then it comes back at the end. It's just
which is, like, kind of, dumb. It sort of downplays what was a nice setup to a character, you know. When really that should be the focus of the movie should be more on him. Mm-hmm. And then if they really needed a true villain for the movie, like the big bad guy, the antagonist, that's where the biggest problem with the movie comes up, and it's that they went with the Sandman.
Yeah.
So let's talk about all of the previous bad guys to Spider-Man in the comic books and the video games, and what would have been a more appropriate choice for the one main villain.
Well, like, the main villain in that one would have been the new Goblin, because it would make sense. That's how they built it up in the second one. But if they didn't want to go that route,
if you didn't want to have it be like the same thing as the first one, if you wanted to use the opportunity of a new movie to put a new bad guy into the movie, like another one of the many Spider-Man villains, then who would you pick other than the new Green Goblin?
Like, Sandman is a good idea was a good idea for a movie. They did him well, but they left out kind of some other things with him that would have made it better. But if I had to choose out of all of them...
there's better decisions. There's better ones you could pick.
Like, if they wanted to do the Venom thing, I remember, like, one of the main reasons why is because the original trailer showed a black Spider-Man, which everyone assumed was Venom, because no one knew about symbiote Spider-Man. Even from the trailer, I was young at the time, I didn't know symbiote Spider-Man, but I knew it wasn't Venom, because Venom looks like that. Can they see that? That's what Venom looks like.
Wait, let me see.
That's Venom.
Yeah, the guy, he has the teeth.
He doesn't look like...
He's mean looking.
He's more evil looking, and he doesn't look like...
He's bigger, too. I remember the video game, the PlayStation one, he was this, like, big... he was just... had sharp teeth, and he was just like a monster, you know?
Yeah, and they picked the worst actor to play him, too.
Yeah,
the guy from that 70s show.
Yeah.
I can never remember his name, I just think it was, like, the guy from that 70s show. Like, there's, like, a billion different people. Like, the Nostalgia Critic said this, it would have been cool if, like... the guy who Mary Jane walked out on became Venom. Even though that wasn't in the plotline of the comics, it would have been a cool way to tie the two together.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if they were going to use Venom, they probably should have just...
focused on him more.
They should have scrapped the Sandman idea entirely. And
exactly.
Focused on,
and that's exactly the flaw.
Have, like, Spider-Man duke it out with the new Goblin for a while, and then they have to team up because Venom is wreaking havoc on the city.
Yeah, that's exactly what they should have done. Being stubborn and keeping the Sandman and the Venom character is just too much. You have to completely get rid of the Sandman and then just have one character.
Or they could just scrapped it all and just have it been like a deep personal story of Spider-Man trying to fight this dark entity in him.
Yeah, they could have done that too. Typically the formula to a trilogy is the third one has to be like the grand finale. So I could even understand having just, a villain like Venom to kind of... Because that's that's one of the big villains.
He wasn't Venom wasn't in the early comic books. My dad never remembered him. It wasn't until this movie my dad knew about him. But he became his big villain in the newer series.
Yeah, so, he's one of the big ones. That's an appropriate decision. I never agreed with the Sandman. I don't know. It just seemed like there were better villains to be picked. Like there was, they already did Green Goblin and Doc Ock, but there was, the scorpion guy with the big tail, right? Yeah. There's the rhinoceros guy. There's the Mysterio. There's so many better villains to pick than just the Sandman. I don't know. I just don't understand why they went with him.
And I don't like how they killed off Venom because, it's the end, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they just kind of shoehorned it in there in the end.
They shoehorn him in and they just kill him off. Even though in the comic books, Flash Thompson, the bully from the first movie, he does become Venom at one point. But anyways, we're getting completely off topic because the main reason we're talking about this is we're talking about this.
The point is that the trilogy ended, people were disappointed, and I don't think that is a good reason to make a reboot. But
yeah, but that wasn't the reason why they made a reboot. But
it was money, wasn't it?
Yeah, here's the breakdown of what happened. Okay. Sam Raimi couldn't come up with they couldn't get a script that was solid enough for Spider-Man 4, but yet Spider-Man 3 still got made, so I don't know. But So Sam Raimi pulled out of the project in 2010. Oh yeah, ironic story. This is very ironic. When Spider-Man 3 came out, John and Dave, Zach's little brother, they were, because they knew how much I hated the idea of remakes. They told me as a joke that they were remaking Spider-Man with an entirely different cast. This was 2006 when they were still.
And then they're dead right because.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Well, you know, like I remember after me and another James saw the third X-Men, and he said like, oh, they're probably gonna milk it further, and I'm thinking, no way. They wouldn't dare, and then they go ahead and make more X-Men movies. So they always.
Well, First Class wasn't bad.
Yeah, but they always keep pumping out reboots and stuff. So
yeah, they're gonna do that with Batman. But anyways, like
and Superman,
and
they're gonna do this one probably again in 10 years, right?
Yeah, probably. Like when the third one becomes some doofy. But anyways, let's talk about it. One thing that I can say which damages this movie greatly, it has nothing to do with the movie itself, but it's the politics behind the movie.
Yeah, like it's sort of why did they bother making this movie? Like even just from the fact that they remade Spider-Man, it's just like it doesn't make any sense.
Spider-Man 3, like this is 6 years old, and then they reboot it. Like they've reboot. Like sometimes reboots can be done well, like with Dread.
Right. But it has to have more substance to it. There has to be
like they screwed up the Punisher reboot, but then again, Punisher never really got a good movie. I did like the one with John Travolta in it, but this isn't about Punisher. This is about Spider-Man. Like the politics behind this damages this movie greatly, which is kind of unfair. But there's that little thing in the back of the head that's just
yeah. There's no way to ignore it. Like
you can't
that's the first impression you have when you see
it's that movie. Little thing in the back of your head. It's just like it's a good movie, but it shouldn't exist because the other ones weren't that bad. It is better than Spider-Man 3. I'll give it that. Like let me give you a top 10 of like how like it's Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man, this one, Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
It's Spider-Man 3, but that's not saying much. Even though I do like this more, like you said, you kind of just like.
Yeah, I didn't like it really. I mean, it was decent to some extent, but it was for all the money they put into it, it was disappointing because it ends up looking like a smaller movie than the first Spider-Man.
Which this had a bigger budget than Spider-Man 1 and 2. Not combined, but still had a bigger budget than both of them. And those two was a much grander movie than this one. Like, you get more web swinging, you get better action.
There's more going on with the plot consistently with the first two Spider-Mans.
And they advertised this movie to hell that this was supposed to be like the untold origin story, which makes it, that advertisement, I swear, and I'll die by this, makes it sound like it's supposed to be like a prequel, not a reboot.
Right.
Because when you say it's the untold story.
It's kind of a prequel. It goes back a little further.
It's a prequel.
Kind of.
It's kind of a prequel.
Like in the same way the new Halloween's a prequel.
Yeah. Like, it's like, you can't advertise it as an untold story and have nothing to do with the movies that came before it. Because if it doesn't have anything to do with the movies that came before it, then technically it's not an untold story, it's a retold story.
Right, if it's the same basic plot. It's the same thing. It's Uncle Ben gets shot and then...
It's the same thing with a different villain.
Yeah, and for an example of like how it's a little bit more of a smaller story, it feels like lower budget and everything. Like the scene where Uncle Ben dies in this one is it's played the guy's played by Martin Sheen, and he just gets like shot and then Peter Parker just runs over to him and it's that simple and like and like it's just like this simple little scene that doesn't amount to much. But like in the original, that was like a huge scene that like they played all that music and they built it up and it was all emotional. And like this one, they just go by it like it's nothing. Like, oh, I guess he had to die. Whatever.
Like he died in the comics, kill him off. But like, I can see why they would do something like that because, you know, if they would have just done it rehashed of the first one, people would just like, oh, alright, this is... Like, I think people then realize...
Yeah, but why even do the same plot? Why not just start anywhere in the Spider-Man timeline?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Why couldn't they just, like, Sam Raimi didn't want to do Spider-Man 4. Get another set of directors. They did it with Batman.
Yeah, they could make a script for this. Why not do it for the fourth one? Right?
Yeah. Like, I think they should do this. Like, they do it with comic books all the time. There's always, like, different universes. Like, there's Spider-Man... There's The Amazing Spider-Man, which is the main series. Spectacular Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man. Why don't they do that with this movie? Have this be a series, and then the keep the original series still alive.
Right, but you know they're just repeating the main iconic things from the first movie to kind of leech off of the success from it. You know what I mean? That's why they have all like the moments like where Uncle Ben dies, he gets his powers. They want the success of the first movie in the new one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the problem. The problem is what you have to do with the movie is just tell an original story and go in your own direction.
Yeah.
And they don't do that with the new one.
They advertise and there's so much stuff in the trailers that was cut from the movie.
Oh really? Like I didn't notice anything.
Like in the trailers, there was a moment where Dr. Connor says, "If you want the secret of your parents, Peter, come and get it." That's not in the movie. There's supposed to be a fight scene. I remember
they fight in the sewer.
Yeah, they fight in the sewer, but there's another scene where remember that Indian guy? Was he Indian? The dark skinned feller?
In which movie? In
the new one. The guy who's like...
Oh, let me think. Which guy, though? I don't know specifically.
The Indian dude. The guy who was working alongside Dr. Connors.
Oh, in the lab?
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly. But,
Remember the guy who drops the folder and then...
Okay, the other guy. Like the Dr. Connors leaves and then he bumps into someone else. Okay, so that guy. Okay,
yeah,
sure.
That guy. He was I'm not sure if he was big deal in the original cut. I'm not sure if there was even an original cut. But there's a scene that was cut from the movie where it's Spider-Man, Lizard, and that guy, I don't remember his name. They were all in this lab and Spider-Man's fighting him and I think the Lizard winds up killing that other guy. They cut that from the movie and I'm pretty sure that was a big deal and
Yeah.
They
took
took out
another point about the movie, which is why is it 2 hours?
Yeah.
It's why the hell does this movie have to be so long? Just make it an hour and a half because it's for younger people and people who just want to see action for an hour and a half. Movies like that shouldn't be 3 hours.
The original Spider-Man movies, they were pretty long. They were 2 hours long, but
they were very big movies. They had a lot in them. Peter Parker goes from high school to college in them. So.
Yeah, and this one's just Peter Parker in high school, which I understand. They wanted to focus more on his high school life, which is okay. But there's I said before, I like the movie. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's not awful. It's not the worst thing ever made.
It's just one thing that you can't get out of your head is the politics behind it, which is the big deal.
Does it have something to do with Sony or?
It's Sony's. This is everything that happened with this movie is Sony's fault. I can't get maybe I can't blame the director Mark Webb or any of the actors because they don't really. Sony and the producers get the say in this. You know what's weird is I got this at Target, right? And it comes with it came with this, which is a mini disc, and that's a mini documentary about it, and they were actually comparing it to the original Spider-Man movies.
Ooh, no, the original wins.
And you want to know something funny? It's just one of the producers for this movie, who also was the producer of the other one, she said, "This one's not as good as that one." She said, "The Sam Raimi universe made pretty much was perfect." I'm not trying to...
Yeah, there's not any major flaws. There's nothing else you can really... Well, okay. It's harder to cinematically do anything else that Sam Raimi didn't already do with the first movie, because he did it so well. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Which means you really have to do something different with the reboot.
Yeah, and if they want to do a prequel, that's fine. But, I wouldn't have minded a prequel and, not have Tobey Maguire be Peter Parker because he's 37 now.
Yeah.
So, but then again, Andrew Garfield, who plays Peter Parker, is 29 years old, so I don't know really how ages work.
They always just get older people.
The teenager's always 30 years old.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a cliche at this point. But you know what bothered me with him is he seemed a little too cool for the part, actually. You know what I mean? He's getting bullied in the first scene, and you're like, what? Wouldn't he be one of the jocks at this school? He looks pretty. Punk. Yeah, he looks pretty cool himself.
He's on the debate team, big frickin' wolf.
Yeah, that's. He has to look like a nerd.
That's the.
Tobey Maguire looked more like a nerd. He was more like.
It was interesting. In that little documentary, they said in the original Spider-Man trilogy, they had more of an. It took place in an unspecified time period where it really could have been any time period. It's clear that took place in modern time, but it really doesn't stretch the fact that it's modern time. You didn't really see big you had the billboards in New York City and all that stuff, but you didn't see
cell phones,
like Macs and stuff, like modern day Macs, like touch pads and all that stuff. In this one, they said they wanted to make it feel more modern, which is fine. I mean, it's a modern movie.
No, I think that might just be because the original is more stylistic in the way they show everything. You know,
so like the Tim Burton Batman, like it
yes, exactly like that.
Doesn't have a specified time
right.
period. And
that's a more stylistic approach to that, right?
Yeah, and if you really I thought about it, and I realized if you wanted to put these movies in a chronological order, it'd be.
Would this one be first?
No,
apparently?
It'd be Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man, back to the Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, and then Spider-Man 3.
This is in the middle somehow?
Yeah, Spider-Man 1, it would ironically take place in the middle of the Amazing Spider-Man.
Do you know this DVD is widescreen?
No, actually, yeah, I know it's widescreen.
It says it's widescreen.
Yeah. Actually, no, I was wrong. It'd be Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, then back to Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2,
and then Spider-Man 3.
Yeah. And of course they're making a sequel. And
are they?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Well, obviously, it made it's I think the 40th highest grossing movie of all time.
What, that? The
Yeah,
Amazing... Oh, no.
And and I can understand they want to, and people...
I can understand the Avengers making a lot of money, but not...
I can see, Spider-Man's a hot property.
Yeah, but not highest grossing of all time is a bit much.
There are people who are fans of Spider-Man. I consider myself a pretty devout... he's my favorite superhero, which a lot of people know about. Who say, this is more accurate than this one.
Is it more accurate? Is it the untold origin story?
It's not the untold origin story. The comic books didn't even have an they did, later, but, of course...
The original comic was pretty quick, and, it wasn't too complicated.
The first comic didn't really focus on anything. It's just, he was a nerd, got bit by a spider.
It was brief, right? I've read it. It is brief.
Yeah. Got bit by a spider.
Uncle Ben dies.
Uncle Ben dies, he fights his killer, and then with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, and then done.
Which, by the way, that line is never said in this movie.
Which,
you can't have a Spider-Man story without that. They have it implied that it's kind of said, but it's not. But
the promises that you don't keep are the ones that are the best.
No, when Uncle Ben was remember how he forgets Aunt May, and his Uncle Ben, he's just you're like your father, but he lived by a philosophy. If you have certain abilities, you then owe it to everyone to do something with those abilities. That's kind of this movie's take on with great power comes great responsibility. I'm just that's not the same. It's the same thing, but it's not. It doesn't have the same impact of with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, that's such an iconic line, and I guess that is from the comics, so it's not.
It's from
you
the
can
comics.
repeat it, so.
It's from the comics. It's in the movie. It's the most. It defines Spider-Man's story. That's what Spider-Man's all about. He has this power, and now he has a new responsibility, which then focuses on every other superhero on the planet.
Isn't the biggest problem with this movie just the fact that we've seen this before? Isn't that what kind of kills it in a way? Because it's not that it's even so horrible. It's just okay,
it's well acted, well directed.
The criminal gets away, and then he doesn't stop him, and then he kills someone he knows, and then he's like, oh, I should have stopped him. Oh no, you know what I mean? But I'm I've seen this before.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So no, even if you do it well, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Neither of them followed Uncle Ben's story of how he died, but in the comic book, you know how it was his house got robbed, and Uncle Ben got shot by the robber, and it just so happened to be, in fact, that the robber who shot him was the guy he let go in the ring. And in this one, this one didn't stay more accurate because it doesn't, in reality, it doesn't matter how accurate you are to the story, just as long as you're telling a good story.
Wait, so Sony made this one. They influenced this one, really?
Yeah.
What was the first one, then?
This one?
Yeah.
That's also Sony.
Okay, but what was different with the companies behind the first one?
No, this isn't Sony. This is Columbia.
Okay, so Sony I guess
Sony and
Sony came in and took over, I suppose.
Yeah, they're both Columbia. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But I think Sam Raimi had more control over this. Is the difference. What everyone has to realize is that once a movie company directly gets its hands on something, they can do whatever they want. That's just sometimes.
Oh yeah. Okay, I know what you mean.
Sometimes it's for the better, and sometimes it's for the worse. In this case, this was for
for the worst.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the deleted scenes, and some of it was actually is just like you said, it's a 2.5 hour long movie, which is extremely long. But some of it was actually kind of interesting stuff. Apparently, I'm not sure if this is true or not, so don't quote me on it. You know how Dr. Connors, she he's like, I think his family's mentioned, but you never see his family. Apparently, there's like scenes that like they had cast and directed, like they have scenes that are made with him and his family. If they would have had that in it, it would have been so much better because you would have had more sympathy towards this guy.
Yeah, knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and like another thing I have like a problem with it is just like, how is like he's a genius scientist who just wants to do good for the world.
He has an attitude problem.
But like he randomly just because he's turning into a lizard, he spontaneously becomes evil. It's just like
the lizard too, but the Spider-Man. Yeah, the new, you know.
I mean, I can understand they want to give it more like an edgier feel. Like this is like my problem with like a lot of the reviews for the new Spider-Man movie. Like this one guy said he didn't like it, but he preferred it over the other ones because it's not campy. And then like, and I can't help but think about it, and just like it's because the other ones are campy, sure, but that's the point.
Yeah, it's like they're campy in a way that pushes the visual style of the movie. It makes it a little easier to watch. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's not You'd have to compare them back to back or something, but they were the originals were a little more brighter and colorful, and it just told the story better. Like everyone knew what was going on in the first movie, you know?
Yeah, and like everyone for some reason focused on the web shooters. Like, you know how in this
yes, exactly. Yeah, like they're like, oh, well, they got that right. Okay,
it's just like I think it. Like,
that's a minor point.
Yeah, and if they want to get real nitpicky about it, he didn't even have web in the original comics. So that was liquid cement.
Oh yeah, right. So I guess he did make it himself, but like you have to understand the original movie, they didn't have time to explain all that, so they're just like, fuck it, he just has it in his arm.
Yeah, which I think is actually a bit cooler because he's becoming a spider. So like, why couldn't he just shoot webs out of himself?
Yeah, like just to make it easier to show it to the audience so they know what's happening, you know?
Yeah. And like, this is going on really long, but that's okay because I have a lot to say about it. What else was there about it? I liked how Gwen Stacy was a character because in the original comics she was the love interest. Eventually she's going to die, but then again Mary Jane dies in the comics also.
They both die.
Well, in Mary Jane she kind of dies off, like, screen, I guess is about how you would put it in comics.
Yeah, like you don't see it.
Yeah, she doesn't see it, and like she gets killed by Peter Parker, ironically. Like,
oh, how?
Like, I was going by what someone mentioned in he was doing a review of Spider-Man Reign, and apparently Spider-Man's semen killed her because it's radioactive.
Oh, well, that's just logical. That makes the most sense of anything. Like that's how she had to die.
Yeah.
Given the the situation.
And like and Gwen Stacy, she dies, but like remember the scene in the first movie when the Green Goblin's holding like Mary Jane?
Oh, is that supposed to be the Gwen girl?
Like in the comics that was Gwen, and like she dies and like she winds up being killed by being dropped, and like so like, and that was like a big moment. Like she's gonna have to die in these movies at some point because that's like the biggest moment in the comics.
So Spider-Man didn't keep his promise at the end of the movie.
Yeah, and I like
and he gets her killed anyways. Mm-hmm. So that made everything pointless.
Like and if people are talking about how this one's more accurate to the comics, in the comics, Gwen Stacy hated not Peter Parker. She hated Spider-Man because she always thought that Spider-Man was responsible for her father's death. Like she never knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
So
they messed this one up too, I guess.
Like you can retelling a story, you can retell it well, but I don't want to hear people are just like it's more accurate to the comics when it's really not.
And then it's
like it's more accurate to the fact that he has like these little like punchlines every time he gets in a fight with somebody, but that's one thing.
Well, what I was saying earlier, I didn't mean it about the lizard guy. I meant it about Peter Parker and the new one, which is like doesn't he have more of like an attitude in that one? Mm-hmm. Like he's more mean actually. Yeah. He's kind of an asshole when he's like beating people up and stuff like.
Yeah, like I said before, like when he's like fighting criminals and all that stuff, in the comics he was like known for like joking around and like he's known for his quips.
Yeah.
But like in the comics he was always like good to his like Aunt May and Uncle Ben.
Because he's a nice, sensitive young boy, you know. He's not like mean. He's not a jerk.
Yeah, like I said, it's a reimagining, a reboot, so I can understand changing a character around a bit.
Yeah, but it kind of feels wrong. Like it doesn't seem like that's the focus. I don't know, it just feels like inappropriate stuff that happens in the movie.
And like they really didn't utilize him swinging on webs too much in this one. I didn't feel.
Yeah, wasn't that one of the most visual moments of the first movie?
Yeah, like
that's like utilized in SpiderMan.
Like
he swings from a web, right?
Like they had Sam Raimi's cool like Evil Dead stuff camera, just like flying around, supposed to be like assuming from that like Spider-Man's perspective.
Yeah, which was really cool.
And like the web slinging in this one, like that one, it seemed more real, but didn't happen enough for me to care.
Yeah.
Like, someone said this before, and this is, I think, the only time it would be, like, anyone said it in a negative way, it was quality over quantity. Like, in the original Spider-Man movies, it was done really well, but you can tell it was fake. This one, it feels more real, but they don't do it as
It doesn't matter if it looks kind of fake.
Yeah.
Because as long as it works visually, then it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
You're just into it, and you're like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
I enjoy what's going on.
Like, some people say that, I heard someone say that The Amazing Spider-Man, the new one, has more of a timeless feel.
No, it's more dated.
Like, yeah, like, the thing about the original Spider-Man movies is, like, they had it set in a time period that really didn't matter when it actually took place.
Yeah, they didn't pander to what was popular at the time.
Yeah,
cell phones and
like with the new Three Stooges movie, like they brought in the Jersey Shore cast,
and now it's really dated.
Like it's dated to now, like stuff like that. That makes it dated to this point. But like, so like, in the future, it'll be like, oh, remember when we had that, and like,
yeah. So yeah, this is a more dated one, is what you're saying.
Yeah, in the future, it's just like,
people will remember the original more than this one.
Yeah, ironically, it's like, it's the big, like, I'm not sure if it's had a bigger budget than Spider-Man 3. I didn't check the budget on that one, but it was bigger budget than the first two, but it's the most forgettable out of all of them.
Which means they messed up a little bit,
Yeah.
Like I'm not.
But like I said, I think it's the Sony.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can tell it's the like. Why would they make the movie? You know what I mean? It's from a corporation decided we need money, we have to remake this. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and so many people were just like, "This is the Spider-Man movie I've been waiting for." This is
it's not.
Yeah, it's like
you just want another Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, and like people were just saying, "Yeah, they screwed Spider-Man the first time, they got him right this time." It's just like, what universe am I like?
Yeah, was the first movie like Troll 2 or something? Like, what was the first movie that was so bad that you had to remake it?
It's campy, not bad. It's not like Batman and Robin quality where it's just
it's just it has a style to it. It's Sam Raimi. It's supposed to be kind of like a little schlocky and funny, but as long as they pull it off, it's fine. Like
Sam Raimi has done a couple serious movies, but like Sam Raimi's not like. And I heard someone say Sam Raimi's just obviously not meant to make. Was not a good director for this. Like, okay, what universe was I in? Like, what universe?
Yeah, it was a good movie. I'm not gonna bitch about the original Spider-Man and be like, oh, it sucks so bad we had to remake it. Yeah, it was an embarrassment to cinema.
Like, they got everything wrong. Nothing was right. Like,
if that was the case, they would remake like so many other movies.
Yeah, they'd remake Troll 2.
They would remake The Room.
They'd remake The Room. They remake. I think Plan 9 has like 15 unofficial remakes, so I don't know really. But it's like I went to the comic book store recently. I picked up a couple Spider-Man comics because that's what I do. And it was just like, and the guy and I was like, it'd be cool if they brought the Scarlet Spider-Man, who's like, Scarlet Spider's like a clone of Spider-Man, and he's like, oh, they finally got Spider-Man right now, and like in my mind, I was just like, it's like, what do you mean got it right now? Like, and Chris was just like, yeah, I saw it recently too, and I was like, I thought it was pretty good. And I'm not sure whether or not Chris thinks this one's better or the other ones are better. Like, I don't even think Chris cares.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Chris doesn't care.
Chris is just like, it's a movie.
Yeah, he probably just saw it like impulsively and was like, it was enjoyable.
He saw the 2 out of theater like I did, but like,
yeah.
Like when it was one of those things where it's just like I watch it on my TV now, and it's just like this was better in the cinema, watching it in theaters because it's like. It has some cool visuals, and like you can tell that it was made for 3D, but that's only a few scenes that you can tell were utilized for the 3D.
The spiders coming down on him.
Spiders coming down. Like the fight scenes, I think would have just gotten dizzy in 3D, but like sort of like Dread 3D. Like remember how like only a few scenes really utilized it, like the scenes with the slow mo, or like those were the moments.
Oh yeah, but that was such a cool movie that like that whole movie was just.
It was like a brutal, awesome movie. It's just like
I just enjoyed that whole movie.
Yeah, that was just like. Speaking of which, I still have to show you the raid.
Right. Yeah. The Raid.
Like I'm ragging on the Basic Spider-Man a lot, but I do like it a lot. I don't love it. I just like it a lot. It lacks a certain je ne sais quoi, if you will. And
yeah,
I like that word this way. I don't even know what it means.
That's the biggest problem with this movie.
Yeah, I don't even know what je ne sais quoi means. I just think it's the most like, yeah, whatever. But like, had they just like I said this before and I'll say it again, had they like took the script and done some tweaking to it, it could have made a good prequel movie. Like if they would have.
Yeah, it could have. Just tell another story.
Another story.
Because we've seen this before. I think that's the biggest problem with rebooting something.
Like, this one reviewer that I do watch also, like, he said it's just, like, it's accurate to the story. Like, he's just, like, he said, like, one thing that people are complaining about is, like, it's too much like the previous Spider-Man movies. And he said that's not really an issue because it stays true to the comic book, stays true to the source material. It's like, well...
Was the original so off that it was offensive? Like,
I don't even know whether or not this guy even read, like, previous Spider-Man comic books. I was just like, all I can think of is just, like, if it's too much like, that's why I don't like most remixes. Like, sometimes they just take too much from the first one and kind of makes it pointless. And, like, the Psycho remake, like, this isn't like the Psycho remake at all. Like, it's not like a shot-for-shot movie, but it's just, like, you take too much from the first one, it makes it entirely pointless to watch. It's like, I might as well be watching.
You've seen it before.
Yeah, I kind of felt like the way with the Fright Night remake. I was watching it, they changed it a lot, but as I was watching it, I was just like, I could just be watching the first one.
Yeah, like, the biggest problem, we've said this already, but it's because the corporation that made this was just using Spider-Man to just leech off of the iconic imagery of it,
Yeah. Like, Spider-Man's still a hot property. They want to keep the copyright. They want to keep their copyright alive.
They want to, they want to make money from it.
Yeah. Right? Which, it's just...
Well, let's see how many. Let's see exactly. So it's Marvel, Columbia, and Sony, I guess. Well...
Yeah.
It was Sony, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one, only on the back of this is Marvel and Columbia, but it does say Sony, but that's just for their website. It's actually Columbia and TriStar, which Columbia and TriStar I think is the same thing. But, like, and someone at one point said they might try and tie it into the Avengers, but that's not going to happen because, like, I told you this before.
It wouldn't work because they already kind of got the character dynamics of the Avengers, right?
Yeah, like...
It would kind of throw that off, so
like,
I'd rather they not do that.
Actually in the Avengers, they were trying to get a scene with the Oscorp building shot for it, but the 3D team couldn't get it done fast enough, so that was scrapped. So they're thinking of he either might have an appearance in the Avengers 2, or it's just going to be like in the other Avengers movies. It's kind of like they hint at they might be in the same universe. Even in the comic book, Spider-Man was never really an Avenger. He kind of just like showed up every once in a while to help.
Yeah,
but I mean,
like Chuck Norris in the Expendables, right? He just kind of shows up, helps, and then he's like, "Okay, I'm leaving."
Yeah, like it'd be cool to see Spider-Man in the Avengers too.
I suppose that would work. Yeah,
they're bringing in new characters for the Avengers too. Like they're bringing in Ant-Man, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Apparently they're doing Black Panther, which I'm not sure if you know who that is, but yeah. Anyways,
I don't follow comics enough to know.
Yeah,
I didn't even know about the Avengers
He's pretty much
before the movies. Actually,
Black Panther's pretty much Marvel's interpretation of Spider-Man. I'm not Spider-Man. Batman.
Oh, okay, I see.
Like he was the first African American superhero. I'm not from what I read. I'm not sure if it's true or not. And he's not connected to the Black Panther movement. It's just that it's kind of like it's just a cool name.
Yeah. I expected him to just literally be a Black Panther that just runs around and eats people.
That'd be an interesting story, but
like just a panther that just eats people.
Like he's like the show Manimal or Animorphs. He just turns into a panther
and just like eats his fellow teammates. Like
yeah,
he's just a problem.
Yeah. Speaking of like things they want to do with the Avengers, apparently at one point they because I've never seen such a cluster of like comic book movies other than Marvel's because they're all owned by separate people. Fox owns the X-Men, Sony owns Spider-Man, and Disney owns the Avengers team.
Oh, okay. So that's what we
apparently-
meant by Sony is because they specifically own Marvel, so they needed.
No,
I mean, they specifically own Spider-Man, so they wanted to use him. Really desperately.
like, excuse me. So since Sony owns Spider-Man, like, Disney owns Marvel.
Right.
Yeah, but like, it's weird because Marvel owns the Punisher.
And Lucasfilm.
Yeah, that's a fun thing to know. But like, but Marvel owns the Punisher, but I don't think Disney owns the Punisher. It's like I never seen such a cluster of like comic book characters for like film.
Yeah, it's
very confusing.
It's complicated. It's all over the place for no reason.
This whole thing managed to run 40 minutes. So yeah, this has been 40 minutes. Let's wrap this up.
You should do this in 2 parts.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna upload it to Blip because, because Blip you can just do anytime you want. Like, a lot of people were saying that this was better because it was more darker and serious.
No,
that's not it works in its own right, but
it lacks the bright visual kind of stylistic way the first movie was.
Yeah,
which is a problem. It just kind of lacks substance,
Like, I mean, it had some cool action scenes, like the one scene where he's like in that back alley and like he's fighting off those like club people or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when he's doing all that parkour stuff.
It's fine.
That was like really cool looking. I was like, I want to see more of that. They don't really utilize the whole parkour element a lot. Like in the trailer, they made it seem like there would be a lot of like these cool parkour scenes, but they really don't do that too often. I wish I could say it's a budget thing, but $230 million is pretty big budget.
Now there wasn't that much inflation in like 10 years, right?
No.
Yeah, so they just messed up with this.
Yeah, like it's a good movie. I like it a lot. You said it's just kind of decent.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is solid in some ways. Yeah.
So anyways,
it's a fine movie.
Like I said, if you're gonna watch the Spider-Man movies, stick with the first two, and if you really want to like just have somewhat of a good popcorn time, pop into the Amazing Spider-Man,
and if you want something really good for the whole family, this is the one.
Get your entire family drunk and high on the most crazy marijuana you can find, and that's ironic. I put this in order of whatever, but it's fun for a whole family. Get everyone drunk, and then you'll have a good time. Ironically enough, this one may be the most fun to riff on. So
yeah, it is. It's fun in a cheesy way.
Yeah,
it's just so like it's not boring. They don't like kill screen time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it is fun to make fun
except
of.
the dance scene that definitely killed screen time. Was like,
but it was fun.
Yeah,
it was entertaining.
Yeah,
he was swinging around, dancing, moving his hips. That's what you want from the dark Spider-Man. You know,
yeah. It's like it was such a
evil Spider-Man.
It was it was like so bad of a scene. It just makes your jaw just like drop.
Yeah, like I remember when I saw that in the theater with my brother, we were just like, no way. That's like we were just instantly like even halfway into the movie, we were talking and we're just like, this is awful. Like they fucked this up.
Yeah, like it's like how do you come up with Spider-Man 2 and make that? I mean, yeah, Spider-Man 2 was pretty big shoes to fill, but
I think they brought in some other screenplay writer for the second one, I believe.
Probably.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. But like, and I didn't like the way how like the third one kind of just cuts off, and then that's just kind of it. Like you don't do that with Spider-Man. But anyways,
you need a better conclusion.
Yeah, like you need a better way to close the trilogy. But like, anyways, Amazing Spider-Man not bad. It's not as spectacular as the other ones, which is like if they're gonna reboot it again, they're probably gonna rename it the Spectacular Spider-Man, which is one of the comic book names. But anyways, check it out if you get the chance. Rent it first. Like, I bought it because I liked it a lot, and plus it was on sale. But like, if you're kind of questioning it, rent it first. Redbox, it's $1. Talk to friends about it, see if they liked it.
Yeah. If you have nothing better to do, that's why I saw it. It was, and I guess I recommend it for that. It's okay. That's what I meant. It's okay for that kind of stuff.
Anyways, we're reaching 45 minutes.
So yeah, we should probably stop.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.